Cathie Wood's new report is predicting another huge year for Bitcoin. This year-end report is bullish, but this isn't the first time that Cathie Wood has been extremely bullish on Bitcoin. So as my boy Matthew McConaughey says, that's a big bull. So let's dive into this report and see what it all is saying and break it down step by step so we don't miss a thing. Because here at Green Candle, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we don't mince anything and that we get all of what ARK is saying here to really understand how bullish they are. So this is their 2025 year or 2024 year-end report through the Bitcoin cycles, what it means entering into 2025. So there's been the launch of the Bitcoin spot ETFs in January. There's been a lot of other things that were released, the long dormants, the seized by the German and US government, followed by repayments of Mt. Gox. So they're highlighting a lot of the major things that we've seen here this year. But as we all know, in April this year, we had the halving, which cut from 6.25 down to 3.125. But we also had a huge November, just basically the back half of November. So November 13th, the price increased 41.2%, going from 64K to over 90K. But this underperformed the last two post-halving periods, which it appreciated 53% and 122.5%. So you can see, although Bitcoin has been really pumping, it's still not quite on pace to what we have been seeing in the past, which I think cannot be highlighted enough, is that even though we saw Bitcoin pump and Bitcoin run, these new all-time highs are nothing new, and that's something that we should definitely be keeping a close eye on because they could be blowing the top off here a lot more here in the near future. All right, so let's dive in more to this report. The Bitcoin performance from the last halving cycle, the low, and seeing what it saw here. So this is where the Bitcoin's last cycle high was about 67.5, and then we saw it rise about 1 1/3 x during the bear market, and the drop was quote unquote only 77%. But this was better than the previous declines that we saw of 86% and 85% and 93%. But I have a feeling this cycle is a little bit closer to the 2017 cycle, and I'll dive into that, more as to why I feel that way, opposed to the 2020 cycle as well. So that said, Bitcoin price increased about 5.7x, which is not far from the 5.18 point of the 2015-18 cycle and the nearly 6 point that we saw from 2018 to 2022 cycle. So if it continues to follow the average pattern from these past two cycles, we could see a 15.4x, which would lead to a price of over 243K. So that would be 880 days after this cycle low, which was from November 2021. So this is something that we can see that Cathie Wood and ARK is saying on there. If it is an average year here, if it's an average year, it will just be over 200K Bitcoin in 2025. And I agree with Jim here from Cascader that nobody is bullish enough when it comes to Bitcoin because, as we're seeing in this report, it's simply just an average year. We did not have quite as big of a November as we had in previous years. And in previous cycles, we've seen it run up even more. And what's the difference of this cycle in now opposed to previous cycles? Well, we have the Bitcoin spot ETFs now. We have nation states FOMO coming in, and the arms race to acquire more Bitcoin of a depreciating asset is starting to creep its way into businesses as well. So with all of this, we have more and more people taking notice. And I think a large part of it, why we should carry a lot of weight into what Cathie Wood said, is because of her influence that she has. Similar to Michael Saylor, Cathie Wood is extremely wealthy. She's done very well for herself, but people pay attention to what the wealthy seem to say a little bit more. Granted, she's not a billionaire like Michael Saylor, but her net worth is estimated to be around 250 and 300 million during the midpoint of this year. Hey, that's not too shabby. If I'm getting in the same conversations as billionaires and not quite there, I'm not going to be upset about it, right? But Cathie Wood has this influence. She's been very early on Tesla as well as very early on Bitcoin. And we'll dive into what the things that she's been saying about Bitcoin earlier on here as we continue throughout this live stream as well. But this is their 2030 price target that ARK has made. So as similar to Michael Saylor, Cathie Wood lined out a bear, a base, and a bull case for Bitcoin. The bear case simply at 258K, 258K. The base case creeping up on 700K, and then the bull case nearly double that at 1.5 million. And this is a report that came out, quite some time ago. So, I'll have to find the exact date. So it came out almost 2 years ago. And so this report coming out 2 years ago about this price target. And now Cathie Wood is coming out and saying that this could happen within the next calendar year. So the bear case seems to be almost thrown out of the window, as it seems like, the bull case or the base case and the bull case seem to be more likely, especially with, the way that events are lining out for Bitcoin. So, they've been lining out a lot of monthly reports. Now, I think it's interesting too that ARK has also done monthly reports for multiple years when it comes to strictly Bitcoin and how they look at the market. And so, some of these reports, they line out some of these great data points. Like, for example, during November, we saw, like we said, the 37.4% increase to 96%. And then after surpassing its all-time high after the U.S. presidential election, it increased to nearly 100K at one point during November. Now, its deviation band model is pricing to a price target of nearly 130K by the end of this year and an upward momentum into 2025. So, as we all know, I like to look at the chart here. We're having a great day where Bitcoin is humming along as it does, but it's still sitting at 127 or 107K, excuse me, not 27, so 107K, which is still, a little bit away from this 129K. So that would be about a 27% increase from the beginning of this month. But there's a lot of other things that have, shown a mild to medium overbought conditions. In our view, the momentum could propel further price increases. So Cathie Wood is still looking at this and seeing very bullish news as Bitcoin is humming along, doing what it does, and continuing to go around. So this is getting picked up by traditional news media as well. It's not just here at Green Candle where we're extremely bullish going forward. There's a lot of things humming along here where Bitcoin's price is looking to be around 200K is, quote, achievable by the end. And that's from Standard Chartered. So it seems like a lot of people are starting to look at Bitcoin and see that the price doubling by the end of 2025 could be something that we see fairly quickly. And as I lined out here, this isn't the first time that Cathie Wood has been extremely bullish, right? I mean, I talked a little bit about her 2030 report, but she puts out a bunch of reports here, throughout every single month since I think about 2020. But I mean, you could even see, like, dating back to these reports here back in May of 2002, she was looking at Bitcoin closing down 17.2% at this time. So she was bullish on Bitcoin after looking at it going down from 38 to 31K. It still faces an uncertain macro environment, but during that time, she was looking at the 2030 and the drastic outlook. And during that time, that's where we got this CAGR, chart where the base case, or the bull case, excuse me, was still over 1 $1.5 million. So Cathie Wood, extremely bullish on Bitcoin, has been for quite some time and will continue to be bullish on Bitcoin. And the price targets have been coming for quite some time. I mean, if you look at this article here, look at this date, right? Look at this date here. No, updated November 23rd, 2020. Cathie Wood was saying Bitcoin could hit 500K at this time, right? I don't have Wall Street Journal, so I apologize. I can't dive into the full article, but that would be rising nearly 160% this year and about 25% year to date, when that was in 2020. Right? Bitcoin was still creeping under 10K at that time, right? I mean, it was going from 10K to nearly, 60. But we did see Bitcoin, fall drastically since then. She's continued to be bullish time and time again, and she's continued to double down her stance when it comes to Bitcoin. So I think Cathie Wood has been a very outspoken bull. She's got a big audience, and on top of that, she's got a lot of money that she's managing as well, and putting her money where her mouth is, quite frankly, with Bitcoin. So although you might look at her as a perma bull, she continues to look at the bullish signals from Bitcoin and look at a lot of reports there too. So not only does she see Bitcoin as a massive amounts of innovation when it comes to the financial sector, she thinks it could flip everything on its head. Cathie Wood has even come out and said at one point in time she thinks that Bitcoin is a bigger idea than Apple, and she said this December 28th, 2017. So Cathie Wood has been very early to Bitcoin. She's been looking at it and been extremely bullish for quite some time. And she was extremely bullish and early when it came to Tesla as well. And so Cathie Wood has been on its horse, on Bitcoin's horse, really looking and analyzing at what it can do, what it can take over, how it really flips the financial markets on its head, and why it would be a benefit to own Bitcoin, right? So Cathie Wood has always been at the forefront. She has an ETF, a Bitcoin spot ETF as well. And I believe they published their wallet as well. So you can see just how much is being pumped into Cathie Wood's ARK Invest spot Bitcoin ETF as well, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of things, right, where, we see, her news currently, what she's releasing, what this latest report is releasing, right? She's raised her Bitcoin price target to as much as 1.5 million by 2030. She cites regulatory relief, which she didn't know previously, and institutional interest as key drivers for Bitcoin growth. And the optimistic outlook rings true, but Bitcoin still faces significant market risk. Okay, sure. Bitcoin is definitely, privy to some various market terms, but, at the end, Bitcoin doesn't care exactly what the market does, right? Maybe you'll see some short-term price movements, but this is also a report lined out from Cathie Wood looking at the 2030 price, right? The 2030 price, and it's not necessarily a short-term movement. So, this largest report has gained 25%. This was from October to November, and then now it's still rolling along, and you're seeing how Bitcoin's performing, how it's doing what it does. And like I said here, I mean, Cathie Wood, like getting saying that Bitcoin is a bigger idea than Apple back in 2017. She's been really humming this thing along, really been pushing for Bitcoin forward. And so I think that that's going to continue over time, right? So as we lined out a little bit earlier in this, right, Bitcoin is doing what it does today. It's reaching a new all-time high, humming along nearly at 108,000. Maybe we'll see it break that during this. And, Bitcoin's market cap is just absolutely expanding, right? But, the one thing that I think that the fiat system has really encouraged is a lot of corruption in various markets. One of those markets, I think, is the health insurance market. And we've seen a lot of craziness that's gone on during this past couple months about the health insurance market. So I've found a great partner in CrowdHealth where you can join a group of people that will help you fund peer-to-peer of, help you find awesome doctors, negotiate your bills, and do all that for a ton less. So this is absolutely great for you contract workers, your entrepreneurs, you guys who are really looking for an alternative and don't want to pay an arm and a leg for health insurance, and then also not get your claims covered. So I use CrowdHealth. You can sign up by going to joincrowdhealth.com. Go use promo code Green Candle for 3 months off, or 3 months, excuse me, 3 months at $99 a month, which will save you $60 a month at the very beginning. So you can just give it a try for $99 a month for 3 months. You can go here, click sign up. All you got to do is enter your email. Pick a day on the calendar that works best for you, a date and time, and you can join the revolution. And the great way to avoid getting robbed an arm and a leg by the health insurance industry. So I encourage everybody to go do that. And lastly, take charge of your Bitcoin. There's no better way to take charge of your money and become your own bank other than holding your Bitcoin in cold storage. But you got to make sure you do that safely and securely. Now, if this is something that worries you about, what you're doing going forward, I've got a great solution for you. I've partnered with my friends at thebitcoinway.com. So you can go and visit the bitcoinway.com/green candle. They've got people literally working around the clock, working every day but Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. But they've got people from literally any time of the night throughout the entire day, because no matter what time zone you're in, they've got people that are there to help you buy Bitcoin, store it securely, check your computer for any potential viruses or threats, and get a Plan B passport if necessary, if that's something you're looking at. So what I recommend is definitely visiting them out and checking out what they got going on at the Bitcoin Way. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, this report being extremely bullish is not the first time that Cathie Wood has been super bullish with the way things are going. So I definitely, recommend taking a dive into it and really seeing what Cathie Wood is, because with everything going on in the world with nation state adoption, ETFs, and now companies starting to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, I'm not quite sure how you could be bearish when it comes to Bitcoin. So if you haven't already, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, follow me at Green Candle IT everywhere you get social media, and I will catch you guys all at the next one.